Hey guys, it's Tom. Now, some of you may know I collect hollow handle survival knives. Some of the best hollow handle survival knives out there is made by a company called Aitor out of Spain. Okay. And they have like a Jungle King 1, Jungle King 2, there's a OSO Negro, there's a Command, there's a Jungle King 3, which is kind of like that Scout from the Life knife. There's a whole bunch of, and they do make like hunting knives too, also. But most of these were made for Spanish military. So these are actually military knives. They weren't just, you know, stupid survival knives for the average guy. These are actually used by the Spanish military. The Aitor Jungle King 2, I know, was, and Jungle King 1. Now, this is the Aitor Command. The fool who had this knife, Aitor uses a watermark on their blades. They don't use like a stamp. The fool who had this knife decided he was going to, I'm not going to see it, I don't think, but there's brush marks there where he took the logo off the knife for whatever reason. It was really stupid. Now, just a little history. The Aether Jungle King 1 came out in like 1981. Jungle King 2 came out like 1983. This came out in 78 or 79. 79. The whole big thing with this knife, because this is the United States version. There is an overseas version. I'll explain that once we get into the sheath. Let's get into the knife. This has got a 9-inch blade on it. It does have the patented double set teeth Aitor saw. And it's a semi-recurved blade. Got a nice little swedge that starts here to the tip, and which makes the tip unbelievably strong. You can see the size of that tip. It's a strong tip knife. Sharp as a razor. And this thing is like razor sharp, which is one thing I can say for all of the Aitor knives I own. Now, when you come down here, you have this upper guard. But you notice there's no lower guard. This has got the best choil system I've ever seen in my lifetime. This protects your hand from going away up the blade. That's your choil right there. You don't have to wrap your finger out around nothing, anything like that. If it's in your hand, you just slide it up, it stops, and you're in the choil. And now you're right at your control spot, I guess is what people call it. It does have a 90-degree spine on there. This is long before the metal match was widely used, but maybe Spain did use them, I don't know. This has got an ABS overmolded plastic handle. Underneath there is a hollow survival tube, which is pinned in place, and it's also filled guard in place. So if you get down here, you'll see there's a plug in there which the knife is cased into. One-handed operation here. Undo this because they have a spring-loaded tube in here, and it usually blows the lid off. It flies out of the knife. On here, there's a compass. It does work. It's a solid metal. There's a little survival tube. You get like 5 matches, a good fishing kit, whistle, pencil combination, and a ferro rod. I'm missing the cap for down here, but this little space right there, that holds tinder for you. Down inside of there, well, you can see it from here. It's encased in that ring right there and pinned in place. That's one thing I like about these Aitor knives. They're not your nut and bolt, hold the blade on kind of thing. If you happen to have one of them, by the way, and it's just a bolt that comes through with a nut on it, you can always mix up some JB weld and fill that up over the nut, and then it won't come apart on you. Or if you're not going to do any chopping or anything like that, you're just going to use it for feather sticking wood and animals and whatnot. You can always use heavy duty super glue, industrial strength super glue. Now this knife weighs in at like a pound, 2 ounces. This is a Parkerized version. This is not satin or anything like that. This is Parkerized, which is a way of doing like a sandblasted version back in the 80s and 90s without actually sandblasting the blade. So far, that's the knife. Like I said, they are sharp as thunder. I love them, and good quality blade. Have not had one wear out, break, or anything else on me yet. Now, the only complaint I have about all the Aitors is this stupid configuration of a sheath up here. This is what actually holds the knife in. This thing here slides down, and the sheath comes apart. So if this slips, it falls off your belt. Never had it happen, but I'm not saying it can't. Okay. Now for the Aitor, the Jungle King 2 that I carry all the time when I used to be out is I took it, I screwed it together. The top part. Now when you go down to the loop, you got that much of a loop. And then they sewed the retention strap to the inside or the back side of that loop. This is all sewn right here. Instead of sewing it to the front, and you'd have a generous belt loop here for any kind of size belt, they sewed the whole thing together. It's the stupidest retention thing I've ever seen. Now, same thing with this one. If you want to put this together, this is coming in from the left. It has to go up through this. Try figuring this with one hand because you're only going to have one hand on your side to do it. You got to come up through that hole and just go sliding through the hole. It gives you absolute retention on a knife. I will have to say that. But to put the retention on this knife, say in the dark or in any kind of light, if you have one hand, you're going to be well pressed to do it. Even if both hands work, you still can't reach all the way around yourself just to strap in this knife. So a knife that I'm going to use, I will completely refigure this. I usually take this off, resew it to the front of the strip, blah, 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 pin this in place. Now, I don't intend to really use this knife, but if I was out running the woods again, because I recently acquired this, if I was out running the woods again, you bet your butt I would be using this. Now, why I said there's an overseas version and there's a United States version. Together, find it. One, two, no, not that, not that kind of find out. Okay, it's put together. Now, when you pull the knife up out of here, you're going to notice there's this thing here. And the first one I had, I said to myself, wait a minute, that looks like a whole ship bullets, like 223s and stuff. It's like, but why would they give you four of them to carry your knife? That doesn't make sense. It's not 9mm, it's more like a 32 caliber. So it just doesn't make any sense. And this plugs back down here in the sheath. This is not like the other ones where you have that little survival capsule in the back that just plugs in there. Couldn't figure it out. The back of the sheath, you see, has a swell here. Now, the ones in Spain, versions from over there, there's a key ring here with a little shaft. Over here, there's a hole with threads. What you did is this held 4 flares per hole. So there was 2 yellows, 2 reds, and 2 greens, I believe it was. And they all fit down here inside this little pocket inside the sheath. And you got 4 right there at your disposal, and the rest of you just dumped out. Okay. What you did, you took these flares and you turned them into the hole that I said was here with the screw on it. You turned them into there, and you pulled out your key ring here, let her fly, and it shot a flare for you. That's why they wouldn't let it into the United States like that, because it's a flare gun, but yet they sold shot shell cartridges for hunting small game with this. So therefore, it is a shotgun. So they just discontinued the whole thing. Said if you want to bring it in here for sale, this is what you got to do. But I would love to find one. I seen one guy on here that on YouTube that had one with the gun. I might as well call it in the back. He took it outside. He shot it once, one flare and stuff. It was really, really, really cool. But there were little brass shells you just screwed them into, and you could reload the flares. You could reload the shot shells. It was really cool. Now going on the sheath, we have some micro cordage. On the back here, there's a sharpening rod down to the leg tie where you have an outside leg tie, a drain hole, and the one that's supplied with the knife, which is looks like a tent configuration. I haven't figured out how to pull it apart yet, but I will. So this is the Aitor Command. What a blade. If you could get it in the original configuration that they have over in Spain and other countries, I guess you can import it into the United States. You have to have a certain type of licensing, but I guess you could import it in. But boy, you'd have yourself a piece of work there. You'd have a flare gun, a mini shotgun for like rats and rabbits and stuff at really close range. You'd have your knife, your survival kit. Beautiful piece of work. And I'll tell you, what a knife. I am dead impressed with this. If I would have known about these before the Aitor, I would have bought one of these instead of the Jungle King one back in them days. So, this is Tom. I want to thank you for your time and your patience. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up. If you want to share it out, please do, and please subscribe. And we will see you guys on the next one.